Welcome, everybody. I'd like to call to order. Should we start off, Mo, with a roll call?
Commissioner Goodman,
Yes, here.
Commissioner Reed is excused, Commissioner Glazier,
Here.
Commissioner Bowen,
Here.
Commissioner Maya,
Here.
Vice Chair Houghton,
Here.
and Chair Arcuri is excused. And we have a quorum.
Very good. Thank you. I'd like to call out to Mr. Demore if there are any changes to the agenda.
No changes.
Thank you. Notices that on Thursday, July 14, 2022 at 5 p.m., Mo, our Airport Commission Secretary, who really runs the show here, duly posted this agenda on the bulletin board at the Airport Administration offices. This next section of the meeting is for public comment for items not on the agenda. And Mo has already given me four speaker forms for items not on the agenda, and a fifth for an item that is on the agenda that we'll cover when Mr. Dixon's making his presentation. Mo, are there any additional requests for speaker forms? No. Okay. Anyone in the public that's not completed a speaker form that wishes to? Okay. All right, well, let's get started with public comment then. So, Madeline Monchamp, is that French, Monchamp? Yes. All right. My mother was a Beaucamp, so I try to pronounce those names. And
My father-in-law used to say
and yes, please come.
everybody can spell.
Yes,
I'm supposed to stand here?
yes, please.
Okay. As you know, my name is Madeline Monchamp. I live at Rancho Goleta Mobile Home Park. I've lived there since 1993. And I love having an airport so close by. It's not a terrible problem until now. And it's noise. It's noise that at 12:15 at night, planes go out and wake you up, and then they go out at 5:20 in the morning. You can't get 8 hours of sleep. I don't think that's fair to the community at all. I don't know what you can do about it, but there are lots of unhappy people.
Yeah.
And air pollution is another one that we're going to have a problem with. I thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Okay, and then we have another interest in noise from Mike Glick. Mike.
Hi, Mike Glick from Elwood. I've moved here in mid-'70s and bought our house in Elwood in '85. So just preemptively, I've heard the comments, you live next to an airport, so just, basically shut up. But this wasn't the way it was when we bought our house. It was no flights between 10 p.m. and 8 a.m., and the flight path over Elwood was supposed to bank out over the open space, the bluffs, and the ocean. And I don't know when they changed the noise abatement procedure, but that's the way it used to be. So now what's happening, the 5:15 thing was obnoxious, but I try to be an early riser. I'm 65. So it's a little harder than it used to be, but I try to get up early, so I kind of lived with that. But then they just started this midnight thing in June, and that was kind of the last straw. So I know there are things that can be done. I know Goleta doesn't have a direct authority in that regard, but that's something that needs to change. That's another item. But also, one of my neighbors who couldn't be here wanted me to ask about what's the green stuff that ended up destroying the paint job on their cars that the airport paid for the new paint job. So if anybody knows what that is, maybe you could chime in.
Okay. I do not know. Mr. Demore, do you know anything about that?
No, do you have any more detail on that?
I'll
Green
get-
stuff?
I'll get it. Yeah, it's some they repainted their cars for him, but he's worried about, toxic, air pollution and stuff with the increased flights and whatnot. But, we just, it's a small town. We need to be good neighbors. And at this point, it's really just rude, when people get woken up at midnight and then again at 5:15. And there's ways that you can mitigate that. LAX can do it in their big international airport. We can do it here in Santa Barbara.
Thank you very much, Mr. Glick. And also Cecilia Fabulich, please.
Hi, I also live on Ward Drive, and I just moved in. I'm not an old neighbor, or I'm old, but I am a neighbor.
Yeah.
And, I knew that there was aircraft noise because I'm a former airline employee at American at LAX. For 33 years, I lived in several different homes directly under the flight path. So I'm familiar with noise. So I looked online for your noise abatement policy, and I made phone calls. No one calls me back. You call it a hotline, but there is no person behind it. So I looked up your noise abatement report, and it hasn't been done since February of 2021. You guys, you're not meeting the needs of the community by not filing the reports that you are claiming to have on your website. What we ask is that you establish noise meters within the FAA and environmental guidelines so that we can see that your noise levels are below the 55 decibels. Right now, I'm awakened at midnight, and again for several departures at 5:15 a.m. I know that you can restrict, I know that you can turn down a schedule that an airline says they want to keep and say, I'm sorry, the community won't have it. But I'm here to tell you that the community is organizing. I have been in discussion with an attorney. We hope to get representation. We're not going to stop. We're putting out petitions, and you're going to hear from more of us, just like you see here today. On next door, the amount of verbal back and forth on this subject is really important to other people, and I urge you to be in touch with your community. I'm sure that some of you live near us. We ask that you have a transparency policy regarding noise abatement. This business about filing a monthly report is laughable, and I think that's where we can laugh. You're not meeting the needs of the community. That's it. I guess I'm a little bit angry because I moved in January and I heard the aircraft overhead and I'm at home.
Oh.
It's this middle of the night stuff that is not tolerable. Thank you.
Thank you. We share your concerns. In fact, it's funny, I was hoping we'd get on noise abatement this evening because I flew out of Santa Barbara in the last 6 days and flew back in. And in both cases, the pilots did follow our noise abatement departure and arrival. And I thank them. I actually waited till the end and thanked both the pilot and the captain and the first officer, thanking them for following our noise abatement procedures. So I think if all the commissioners did that when we fly, it'd be a good thing, including staff. So.
I noticed that. I looked at the flight path, and I noticed that some people are taking shortcuts at night. Instead of taking the recommended flight path, they're going right over my house.
Yeah.
It's really hard to live with.
Yeah, they fly over my house too, just so you know. I'm right in the path, so.
Good. I'm enjoying our organization.
Yes, thank you very much. And then last but not least, Joni Good on airport expansion.
Hi. So I'm Joni Good. I'm a Santa Barbara native. I live in the neighborhood that is the unincorporated area of Santa Barbara, so I commonly called Nolita, behind Lane Farms. Right now, well, I think we're all familiar with how the planes come in, and for me right now, it's tolerable. But after reading the article in Newshawk on June 21st about the upcoming airport expansion, I was a little taken aback about the projected 79% increase in growth between now and 2032, and I'm assuming that growth means more flights, which I'm particularly concerned about. Mostly, it does affect our property values, that's whatever, but for me it's quality of life. My husband and I were eating dinner on our patio over the weekend. It was a beautiful evening, super quiet in the neighborhood, and a plane came overhead fairly low, and we just stopped talking until it passed. That's a minor annoyance. Life goes on, and that's not the end of the world for me personally. But a 79% increase, which feels like perhaps that's going to be constant flights and perhaps even during the night. I also am awakened by the late night flights and the early morning flights. So is this an indication that we're never going to sleep again unless we sell our homes and move elsewhere? So that's why I'm here, to express that concern. And it also occurred to me that when we, as those of us who own the property, if we're going to do a remodel or an expansion on our home, there's a permit process, and all of the neighbors get notified, and they are able to weigh in. Does that process take place for stuff like this? I'm just wondering if there was neighborhood input requested, and so that's the end of my complaint.
Thank you, Ms. Good.
Thank you.
Duly noted. I see that we have Councilmember Kyle Richards here tonight. Councilmember, do you have any comments this evening?
Hello, everyone. Thank you. Kyle Richards. I'm Goleta City Council member. I'm the liaison to the Airport Commission. I want to first of all thank the residents of Goleta who came tonight and spoke. I want to make sure that you know that I heard you, so thank you for your comments. One of the things that I wanted to report tonight was with regard to the airport expansion plans, the parking expansion, as well as the airport master plan. The city of Goleta would like to, extend an invitation or perhaps a request that we are involved with the outreach program. And I've spoken to Sarah and Brian, and I know that there will be a robust outreach program for the different things that you have planned and the different projects coming up. Our council and the city of Goleta would like to be a part of that in whatever way possible to help encourage more of our residents to come out and speak and be heard, so that the people who are in the city that is most impacted by the airport and the expansion and the master plan have a voice. And so, for example, we would offer an invitation to host one of the workshops that you have at City Hall, in our city council chambers, or other ways that we can be involved, to either get the word out or, send information about the workshops or the program on our lists, our mailing lists. So we have a robust public outreach person ourselves. So we would like to be a part of that. So that's the first thing I wanted to say. And again, I want to encourage the residents of Goleta that were here tonight to, come to those as well and have your voice heard as well. The second thing I'll just mention, not airport related, but the city of Goleta related, that you may have read that we last night at our city council meeting appointed a new city manager. So our current city manager, Michelle Green, is retiring, and her last day will be August 31st. And as of September 1st, we've hired Robert Nisbet. He may sound familiar. He's currently the city manager at Half Moon Bay, where he's been for 4 years. And before that had been at the East Bay Regional Park District up in the Bay Area. But earlier, he had been the Public Works Director in Carpinteria and served as the General Services Director for the county of Santa Barbara. So we welcome them back to our community in September. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Richards. And I just want to make sure Councilmember Eric Friedman is not in the audience, right? Okay. All right. I'd like to call on our interim airport director, Brian Demore, for your monthly report.
All right. Thank you, Chair Houghton. Good evening, commissioners and members of the public who are here this evening. Thank you for coming, and thank you for those who spoke in public comment. I don't have a long, well, maybe it's a long list, but nothing major to go over. But a number of quick things. First, I wanted to check in with folks who normally get notifications when our agenda packet has posted online. I think we had a little bit of a mix-up with this one where I don't know that notifications went out. I'm seeing some head nods. Is it true that people did not receive their notices at the normal time?
I think.
Mine,
Yeah.
I thought the new format was great.
Oh,
Okay, and you got it last week?
yeah.
Yeah, Thursday or Friday.
Okay. So some folks did and some didn't.
I got mine.
All right. We're
I
trying to
think-
figure out what happened.
Yeah, I think the difference was the airport notice came from the city of Santa Barbara. And so it just seemed like a cleaner, nice format and just a crisper looking email than usual with links.
Okay. All right. Well, that I think was a change associated with something we're going to hear about in a little bit, the new city website. I think it's related to that, although I'm not the IT person, so I don't know for sure. Let's see. A couple of other things on the council agenda. We had a few items approved on consent this week. Most of them, I think actually probably all of them went to this commission on consent previously, but one was an amendment to a contract with Jacobs, who's supporting us in the FBO redevelopment project, the Super 8 lease assignment, and the master plan update. Those all were approved by the city council this week on consent. And next week we have a couple of other items which are on consent here today with the Airport Commission, the Fuse contract for advertising services, and then the passenger facility charge. So you'll hear a little bit more about that. Or if you have questions about that, you can ask during when we get to the consent calendar. Let's see, on the recruitment front, airport director position, which I guess it still says interim on here, right? So I've now been in this role a lot longer than I expected with that label on it. And things are, I think, reaching the conclusion here probably in the next week or so. Looks like it's down to final interviews this week and next. So maybe somebody else will be sitting here next week, or maybe we'll just cover up the interim label in front of my title. So we'll see what happens on that. I know Chair R. Curry was involved in the interview panel, so he was able to provide feedback on behalf of the commission, being involved in that process. And then also just other staffing updates. We have a posting now online for our operations manager position, as well as properties manager, to get those filled or refilled. And the acting operations manager, Steve Spurlock, he will be leaving, unfortunately, in the next couple of weeks. Will be his last day. So that's why we moved quickly to get that operations manager position posted. And for a period of time, Andrew Bermond, who's not here, will be covering basically for 3 different divisions. So he's going to have his hands full over the next few months. But he was up for the challenge. So we want to get those positions filled so that we're not relying too heavily on one person or several people. So those are the updates on staffing. We do have a new hire in this building, Jessica Metzger, associate planner, project planner. Project planner started just this week. She's a familiar face to some because she's been in community development for a while. So that was a transition from one department to airport. And we're excited to have her on board, and that completes our project team under Sarah Isa. So we're really excited to have her on board. Let's see. We've heard a lot about public outreach and opportunities for involvement. I did want to mention that today there was a project kickoff meeting for the terminal expansion and parking structure project. That was more of a internal stakeholder type meeting, workshop, and there will definitely be opportunities to engage with the community on that project and the master plan project. And I really like the suggestion that Councilmember Richards offered, and our team will be in touch with City of Goleta staff to make sure that that happens. I think the last thing I've got here is that I did attend last week a meeting of the, I don't know if it's called SB Aviators or Santa Barbara Aviators, but it's a group that somewhat recently formed to try to bring together the general aviation pilot community. And I presented briefly to them, just more or less introducing myself, but also talking about ways that we can communicate and minimize surprises between what we're doing and what people are seeing out there on the field. I think that's all I had for my director's update. I'll keep the commission informed of what happens with the director position as soon as I know.
Thank you, Mr. Demore. And I have to say, I spoke with Chair Curry this afternoon, and he was very impressed with the city's efforts in interviewing. He'd said that they interviewed 7 to 8 panelists, 7 to 8 candidates, very good feedback from members of the community and people in the technical fields. So he was very impressed with his fellow interviewers. Very large, diverse group of individuals, and he says that the interview team provided the city administrator with direct feedback on all candidates, and he was just very pleased to see that we have a great slate of candidates. So you're in good company. And I'm going to ask the public again if there's anyone who wishes to speak on Mr. Demore's airport director report. Go ahead.
Simply, is it possible for the public to see the expansion plan? Is it somewhere where we can see what it is?
So today was an initial project kickoff meeting with, like I said, with internal stakeholders. So it's all extremely preliminary. There isn't yet a plan, and we will make sure to involve the interested parties, the community members, people like yourself in that process. So right now, there isn't anything beyond like a back of the envelope sketch for that project.
But there is a very good overview in the 10-year airport master plan.
Right, that would be a good place to look.
That's a public document available on the city website.
I'm sorry, which website?
That is on this, I believe it's on the city website, the airport master plan. It's a 10-year plan.
Get to that in a little bit.
I hope it's not near the noise abatement.
Any other comments from the public? Okay. All right, so we're going to move to the consent calendar. So the consent calendar is always a lot of fun. We have tonight 4 items, and I think what I'll do is I'll read through all 4 items, and then we will ask for discussion from the if there's any questions from the commissioners, and then public comment. The consent calendar items are usually routine business items that have been thoroughly vetted through airport staff. And so this is kind of the next step. Sometimes these go to City Council for final approval. So the first item is minutes. And the recommendation is that the Airport Commission waive the reading and approve the minutes of the commission meeting that was held on June 15, 2022. The next item, number 7, is the Property Management Report for July 2022. And the recommendation is that the Airport Commission receive the monthly Airport Property Management Report. Third item, number 8, is the subject is to approve the advertising concession agreement with Fuse Connect Limited Liability Corporation. The recommendation is that the Airport Commission recommend to City Council that the airport director execute a 3-year concession agreement with 2 one-year options to extend the Fuse Connect LLC to manage advertising sales at the Santa Barbara Airport. And last but not least is the big dollar one, and that's to approve the amendment to the passenger facility charge application. The recommendation here is that the Airport Commission recommend to City Council that the airport director submit an amendment to the passenger facility charge, which is known as a PFC in the industry. Application number 7, continuing the $4.50 PFC fee for an increase of $9,942,996 from the original application amount of $19,945,000 to $29,887,996 to include the interest portion of the debt service for the airline terminal improvement project as part of the construction of the John T. Rickard Airline Terminal project, which was completed in June 2011. So those are our 4 consent items, and I would like to open this up to the commissioners if you have any questions or clarifications.
I have just one question about comment that was handed to us at the last minute here from Mr. Ken Alker about the proposed property rental rates for fiscal year 23.
Okay.
He points out some comparables. I haven't had a chance because it was handed to us just before this meeting was convened, but is that part of this?
Commissioner
consent?
Maya?
It is.
Uh,
Yeah.
We're going to cover that in the administrative report.
I'm sorry. Okay, thank you. Then I'll
Yeah.
hold my comments until then.
Holding
Okay.
it till Mr. Dixon
Okay.
discusses it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Um,
Okay.
thank
Very
you,
good.
Commissioner
Then no, I
Brown.
don't have any questions about the
Commissioner
consent calendar.
Glazer?
No.
Okay. Commissioner Goodman? And Commissioner Bowen? Okay, thank you. Public comment. Any questions from our community attendees on the 4 consent items? Oh, okay, we'll keep moving on. I would like to ask for a motion for the approval of the proposed, I'm sorry, let me go back, sorry. There's no motion or vote here. That limits our commission discussion. Okay.
There does need to be a motion.
Need a vote. You cannot approve the consent calendar.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I see. Sorry. I'm going to ask for a motion. Gentlemen, ladies.
So moved.
And I'll second it.
Thank you. I think then we all vote correctly.
Roll call.
Okay, so like take a roll call? Or Mo, do you handle that?
Since we're in person, you can do all in favor or opposed.
Okay. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And it's unanimous.
Great, thank you.
Okay, the next subject is commercial and industrial rental rates, and that the recommendation, the Airport Commission will approve the proposed fiscal year 2023. Oh. Sorry, thank you, Commissioner Bowen. I skipped number 10. Presentation regarding the new Santa Barbara Airport website. Recommendation that the Airport Commission receive a staff presentation regarding the new City of Santa Barbara Airport Department website, that's flysba.com. And
All right.
is that Ms. Doss?
It will be. I wanted to introduce her and also say thank you for testing us with the order. You were just checking if we were paying
Yes,
attention,
right.
I'm sure. But yes, our marketing supervisor, Angie Doss, will present on this item. And perhaps as she explores the city website, we could find those long-lost noise reports.
Okay, don't put too much pressure on me. But thank you all for being here tonight. I appreciate your time, and I'm happy to announce that we launched a new website as part of the city's larger website redevelopment project. It launched just this last June 28th, so just a few weeks now, but we've been working hard on it for over a year. I've been on that city committee that's helped redesign these websites, and I'm just excited to show the commission the website tonight. I'm just going to give a little bit of a high overview and just welcome both the commission and the public to take a look on your free time, and always follow up with me with any questions or comments. We're always happy to get some feedback on the website for sure. So, Mo, you can hit to the next slide. So this city project had many goals, but there were 3 major goals that the city council put upon this work group in redesigning the websites. And side note is it wasn't just the city website and the airport website, it was also the library's website and a brand new Parks and Rec website that includes the Creeks division as well. And so if you haven't checked those out yet, please do. They're also really great resources for the community. And so the 3 main goals that the work group and many staff within this city from all divisions, departments worked on was accessibility. And this is really looking into the future as well, utilizing technology that we have now to adapt, that can be adaptable and allows for all people with all types of disability and accessibility needs to utilize our websites as a resource in the community. Bilingual was the second, and that's not necessarily that at launch everything on the website is both in English and Spanish, but that the website platform has the capability to move in that direction. And finally, mobile devices. I think we all know that, especially in regard to airports, the people that are utilizing our website are often on their mobile device accessing the information, and that's become even more popular with a lot of the resources on the city side as well. And so we worked very diligently with our website provider and creator to hit all 3 of these goals. There are different ratings throughout, and I'll mention some of that. If you'd like more information on any of these, I'm happy to talk about them more. It gets pretty technical. I'm going to try and keep this at a higher level. I learned a lot through this project I didn't expect. So, Mo, you can hit the next slide. So let's take a look. And Mo's going to pull up the slide, and I'll walk you through just, again, a high-level overview of pretty much what's new. A lot of what we did, I think many of you might also know that we actually redesigned the airport website just about 3.5 years ago. It wasn't too long ago that we, as an airport, got a new website. So we were really lucky to take what was done from that project and get some learning since the public has been utilizing that website. And so our goal for the new airport website in particular was to make it more user-friendly and just really hit the mark on how over the last 3 years people were utilizing our website. So this is a homepage, and as Mo scrolls through, you can just kind of see there's some different design elements now and some different highlights, more focused opportunity for more news and upcoming events, as you can see, commission meetings. And as you scroll back up, Mo, we'll all be able to see that there are multiple launching points throughout and different design elements that you won't only see on the website, but you might see in the terminal as well. So trying to really connect that passenger experience to the website was important for us. And the navigation is going to be a little different as well. So at the top, you'll see the new navigation, similar as Mo just did when she hovered over flights, the menu drops down. But if she clicks on flights, that landing page is actually a great resource in and of itself, where it wasn't really like that with the last website. So as she scrolls down, we're highlighting different aspects that have to do with flights. And you can find contact information here for airlines, all of the things that you really will need when you're flying out. We also took the website and tried to really utilize highlighting our services in multiple ways and more direct ways than we were on our last website. And if you could scroll up just a little bit, Mo, and click on frequently asked questions, that little icon there. We redesigned our frequently asked questions page, and this, I guess, would be a call to the public to really check this out and let us know what we could add or what we could change. These are just little accordion drop downs, so we reorganized it and put it in a better kind of platform, so to speak. So if, Mo, you click on general travel questions, you can see that drops down and produces a bunch of questions. So that's one new aspect. And then if you scroll back up to the top, please, and click on terminal. This is, again, this is highlighting our terminal building, all of the great resources and things you need to know when you're coming to visit us and fly out, but specifically within that terminal building. And you can see here we reorganized how you can get to some of this information, highlighting things, and now we have more space to highlight some of our programs. Like you can see, they're just public art coming soon, so that's not clickable yet, but know that it will come soon, and you can learn more about our public art program. So that's a really great opportunity. It also allows us to highlight some really awesome things that the airport staff's doing, like receiving our ACI Healthy Airports Award this last year. And the terminal map is as normal. And then back at the top, if you could click on General Aviation. This is, of course, all things GA and different information for our piloting folks in general aviation community here. A little bit of some reorganization, had some good feedback from the public today through Sarah around accessing information with airport T-hangers. So we've been getting some really great feedback about this new setup as well. So, and again, highlighting some great work that's being done between our staff and the FAA. So great highlight opportunities for the work that's being done as well with this new platform. And then the next one is exciting. This one's a long list, but it's some really cool stuff. This is about SBA, and so we restructured this a little bit more to hopefully have it be a little bit more of a resource for the community. This is where you're going to find a lot of public information like reports, and also one thing that we're extremely excited about is development projects. So if you could click on that icon, Mo. This is brand new, and the city and the other subsites also have this capability of highlighting projects. So you can actually see that. Don't click on it because it's very big, but you can see where Mo is hovering over. That's where you can find the master plan document. And that will highlight our, when that was created, that is future focused, looking at our projects and development plans looking into the future. So that's what was mentioned earlier. So you can notice that. And then as the projects and development team will build this out, we will be highlighting every project that we do individually. And so right now we have 2 projects going on that are highlighted on this website. And like what was mentioned today, we had our first kickoff meeting for another project. And so that the staff leading that will build out a special web page just for that project. And it's pretty neat. Mo, if you want to click on General Western Aero Hangars for me. This leads to a web page, and that's all about that project. And there's different resources on here, who the project contact is, supporting documents, information, timelines, photos, all of that kind of thing. And then also, too, like you saw on the homepage, if there are any events, like public stakeholder events, those will be on this page as well. So those will be highlighted there. And so we're really excited about this edition. It's a big one for us. We'll also be able to feature projects on the homepage as well. And so we'll do that when big ones are happening. And then the next new thing for us is Contact Us. If you click on that, this is just a standalone page. It's just all about who to contact at the airport, right? And these are the high-level contact informations. Within the general aviation area, there's resources for GA specific to services and whatnot on that page, but this is specific more to, of course, airlines, but also administrative staff, if you're going to the terminal, that type of thing, bigger buckets. So again, if there's any feedback on contact information that you feel like might be well suited to be highlighted here, please let us know. And finally, the Fly with SBA. This is something that we really wanted to take advantage of in the new website build. This is all about why you should fly with SBA, and specifically in regard to our air commercial, commercial air service, where we go, why, the major airlines that we have, our great destinations, nonstop flights, and also why to choose SBA over our, other regional airports. And we all know this. We're sitting here because we support the organization, but showing the public these beautiful spaces and all of the amenities that come with flying. And of course, the things that were on here before, like the cost calculator and all that jazz, is still there for passengers, but it's all in one place. It links you to the contact information, frequently asked questions. So we're hoping that there's a lot of really great avenues to navigate, find the information that you need a lot easier than it was before. A couple things that, if you could just scroll down to the footer for me. I just wanted to highlight one other thing that's going to be coming soon, and you can see Stay Connected, sign up for SBA updates. We're not quite ready for it yet, but we will be having the opportunity on both in general updates and project-specific updates, where you can sign up to receive those updates. As of right now, if you'd like an update, you can go to the project page and find out who that lead is and contact them for updates. But very soon, you'll be able to sign up for actual updates, and then you'll get on a mailing list, and we'll go from there. So we're excited about that coming soon. And so that's kind of a high-level overview. I did just put this next. You can go to the next slide. Thank you, Mo. I just put this little sheet together, just a cheat sheet of the list of what I just showed you. So you can go back through it on your own time and check it out. And navigate through there and let me know if there's anything that you're not finding. And one other thing that I'm excited about is I'm not the only one at the airport managing the website anymore. We actually have trained a good handful of staff that now can edit the projects pages and add reports and that type of thing. So we have a more robust website staff since this is launched, so we're excited about that. And next slide, please. And so just a little bit of what's next. So we're wrapping up all of the work from the original design team. There's a lot. The platform that we're utilizing is a Drupal-based platform that's very technical. You don't really need to remember that. Just know that it's actually a lot more modern in regard to website design, and not even design, but content management. It allows you to really plug and play widgets or the little things that you're seeing along the way into different areas of the website. It's much more manageable and it's much more unique. It allows us to just do a lot more, as you saw already through this. And so a lot came out of what's working, what's not, what do we want, next steps, next phase of development for some of these things. And so as we wrap up all of that feedback, we'll be handing it over to the sustainment team. I'm also on that team, so I'll continue working on this project as we move forward on behalf of the airport, but that will continue in forever with the city and with the website. And it's headed by our city PIO and communication team downtown, and a lot of the communication staff or website managers within different departments and divisions are on that team. So it's a pretty robust team as well. And it's really a more internal feedback, but we also will take external feedback from either meetings or through website feedback forms and put projects through the sustainment team to rank on priority and what can be done. So that's going to continue. There will be the higher ranking people within the city that have been on this team and downtown on the IT staff. They'll be doing an official report to the city council coming up in the next several months. They don't have a date for it yet, but so watch for that if you want an even probably better and more technical version of this update that has to do with the city website and more than just the airport. That's going to be coming soon, so if you're interested. And then analytics. So we will of course, have our Google Analytics set up with our website again and some of our digital marketing analytics as well. But we also are going to be utilizing on our website and all the city websites something called Site Improve. And that's an analytics website or software specific to to accessibility. So it ranks it regularly and then shoots out reports to the staff around what could be done better to make the website more accessible. Big things, little things, everything in between. So that's new for us, and we're really excited about that as well. That is pretty much it from me, unless anyone has any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Doss. That's significant improvement. Why don't I turn it over to the commissioners first to see if you have any questions or clarifications? Commissioner Bowen?
And first, thank you for a very nice presentation.
Yeah.
I wasn't playing video games on my phone. I was following along on the mobile to see the differences between the presentation and what a mobile device. So it works pretty good.
Yeah.
Love your direct-to map. That's something that I've always thought we should have had more prominently and up there for everybody. I've been checking out your website for a few days. The one thing I really notice is under drones, I believe everything you have there is factual and correct, but nothing in there early on tells the young drone operator who just got a drone that you can't fly it over this airport without permission from the FAA. So as a pilot who flies through here and doesn't want to have a drone come through my windshield, and I have seen them, if you want to toughen up the terminology there at the beginning of that, to just say it's illegal, it's dangerous, this is how you can do it legally, and then follow on. But I don't think the average user is going to read through all of that and then go to the FAA link and dig and find out that they really can't hover and watch the airplanes coming in for a landing. So please make the drone a little tougher. That was the only thing I could find in your whole website that I saw anything to concern. So good job.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Commissioners, any other comments? Commissioner Glazer?
Very clean, looks very nice and sleek. Seems to be very easy to navigate. So thank you for the upgrade. Looks great.
Yeah, thank you.
Can't see Commissioner Goodman down there.
No, that's
Okay.
basically.
All right. Thank you.
Ditto.
All right, and thank you. Okay, any comments from the public on the new website?
I have a question about, you mentioned a couple times about getting feedback. And then you, at the very end, I think you mentioned that you'll have a form. There's a form on the website. Is that how feedback will be given or questions?
Yes, you can contact me directly. I can give you my card afterwards if it's something you'd like to talk about a little bit more. But there is a public-facing website feedback form on the Contact Us page. It's in the bottom section where a lot of the administrative contact information is. It's a link, and you fill that out, and it comes right to my email. Yeah, of course.
Carl?
I have one suggestion, and that is under parking. When you change the signs that say the parking lot is full, it'd be very nice to at the same time put it on the webpage so people don't have to get here or almost here before they realize the lots are full.
Yes, thank you for that feedback. We did start doing some of that last summer, and unfortunately the technology connect isn't fluid, and so we want to make sure that the information on the website is 100% accurate at all times. However, we're looking at some new technology that will help feed parking information to our website, and so we're looking into the upgrade on that for sure. Yeah.
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Anyone else from the public? Oh, council member.
Thank you. I hate to focus on the negative all the time, but noise is something that I hear a lot about, and we heard some this morning or earlier. So I did see something about the noise abatement program under the About SBA section, and then under the Contact section, there was a noise advisory hotline. I'm wondering, is there an online form to fill out, or is it just the hotline to call, or there's no way to submit something like through the website itself?
So at this moment in time, there's not a form on the website to fill out in regard to noise, but I know there's some different software that our operations staff is working on in regard to reporting and collecting information, and that will have an online form that can be filled out. And so I didn't highlight that page only not to brush over it. We just didn't make a lot of changes in it. I wanted to highlight the new stuff in this presentation. And so yes, you're correct. That's where it's located. The format and information hasn't changed drastically, but we are in the process of changing it. And so I don't have a timeline on that for you. Unfortunately, I can try and get more information. I'm not the staff person that's working on it, but I do know that the ops team is working on that. Yeah, of course.
Is the public view one not working anymore?
It is. But it leads to like the hotline phone number versus. No, that should actually still be on there. Let me double check. The public view should have actually a form too. I'll double check and I'll get back to you. Thanks, Sean.
Any other questions from the public? Okay. Commissioners, any further discussion? Okay. No motion or vote is required for this one, and I am going to turn back to our airport director for the next two items. I skipped that first one. Sorry about that.
All right. So,
Screen rolled on me.
so take two here on commercial industrial rental rates, and this is going to be an update to the rates, which we haven't done, I think, in at least a couple of years, partly due to COVID, partly due to staffing issues. So we've got Bob Dixon on board now, and is this your first time officially presenting an item to the Airport Commission?
I believe so.
All right. Well, he's been doing his homework this week, so he's ready for you. Go ahead, Bob.
All right, thank you very much, Vice Chair Houghton and the Airport Commission members. Thank you for taking some time this evening to hear what I have to say about our commercial industrial lease rates. And as the interim director noted, it has been 2 years since we've done this. The pandemic put a pause on a lot of things, including some of our work here. So we're going to just hit a few quick highlights. You have my full report in your agenda items there, and hopefully you had some time to review that. This will just kind of hit on a couple of major metrics. Next slide, please. So the Properties Division has conducted a market survey of commercial industrial rates in the area to produce this schedule for consideration and approval by the Commission. And so a couple of important metrics here. Next slide, please. First one is market vacancy rates. So how is Goleta doing in terms of their market vacancy rates? Actually quite good. 5% or under is kind of a long-term average that you feel very comfortable with. It's more or less, while not full totally, it's where you want to be and what you want to shoot for. So right now, office vacancy 4.9, industrial vacancy 4.2, doing real good in the aggregate market of Goleta. And how does SBA compare? Right now, our office vacancy is about 30%, and I'll speak to that in a moment. Industrial vacancy, 0. And our overall vacancy, when you take two of those together, both of those together, is 7.5%. So the 30% kind of comes from pulling out office from the total aggregate square footage of all of our commercial properties, which is about 173,000 square feet. And there's about 43,000 square feet, or 25%, that are office, and about 113,000, or 65%, that are industrial, and then the remainder is storage. So when you pull out just the office, it's so large because right now we have 12,888 square feet vacant, but it's all office. So that's kind of skewing it just a little bit. I will tell you, however, that the number does not escape me, and it is kind of a call to say, hey, we need to address this. So it is top of mind, and it is something that we are focusing on. We do have the luxury of being full with all of our industrial space, so that's kind of fun. Next slide, please. So the market rental rates, the average gross rate per square foot in Goleta is currently $2.11 for office and $1.88 for industrial. And the comparative rate for Santa Barbara gross is office $2.04 and industrial $1.52. And I think this looks really, really good for us because when you look at the aggregate Goleta market, both for office and industrial, there are primarily larger properties that are Class A and Class B. Our properties tend to be smaller, Class C, which is a little bit inferior in terms of quality, and we're about 30 years older than some of this product. So based on the difference of age and quality, I think that we are about 30 cents to 50 cents lower than the market. So if you look at this, we're doing pretty good. I think we're doing really good with where we stand with what we have in our portfolio quality compared to the aggregate Goleta market. Next slide, please. So we're really tuned in to doing some marketing, and one of the things that we wanted to do was do some new for-lease signage because it's easy, it's quick. The stuff that we have up there now is stuff that we did in-house during the pandemic, so it was just kind of quick and dirty. But we wanted to do something a little bit flashier, a little bit more modern, and so my staff got with marketing and put together this design, which I think looks really great. And it is also branded to the SBA so that we've got some continuity there. People drive around, they're going to see the same brand. So we have, these signs are in production right now. We do have the 3 colors. We just ordered enough to have on hand. And hopefully in a couple of weeks, we are going to get possession of these, and we're gonna put them out there. So just kind of something a little fun I thought I'd show you. And so finally, the moment we've all been waiting for. Next slide, please. Proposed rental rates. So the upper left is our proposed rates for fiscal year 23, and then to give you some comparison to look at, top right is what the rates were last approved for fiscal year 2020. And as you can see, not a lot of change. I just did a little bit of tweaking, which is kind of good because on the one hand, you have pre-pandemic numbers, and to say that we're still at that level now is generally, I think, a good thing. And then the bottom left is shows our current rental rates range now to kind of give you an idea of where we are, including an average for office, retail, industrial, land, and storage. So that's what we have, and I would be glad to entertain any questions you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Dixon. First of all, I'd like to ask the commissioners if you have any questions or need clarifications. Mr. Glazer?
Thank you. Do you feel that the office vacancy that we're showing here is is caused by deferred maintenance, or is it something that lower rates would help us with, or what's your feeling there?
Well, I think part of it is kind of a pandemic hangover, right? We had some vacancy. Of the 12,888 feet, we have one space that's 7,900. And so that's about 2/3 of it right there. And it's kind of a problematic space because it's really super chopped up in small offices. I think it was an engineering space before where they just had, one engineer every 10 feet, right? So it's kind of a problematic space. So I think that's part of it. We have had some success in this last week. We did lease one office space and our 2 yard spaces that we had left. So that's good news. We leased an 842 square foot office space, and then we have 2 other spaces, a 560 and a 1560 square foot, where we have offers pending. So there is some movement. I feel pretty good about some of these smaller spaces. That 7,900 square foot space is going to be kind of tough. But I still think that we're moving in the right direction.
It's not easily demisable, is what you're saying?
Not really. There's only 2 entrances.
Oh.
So, you could demise it into 2 separate spaces, which it kind of is now. One side is leased. This is actually the other half of it. It's actually, one big space. So I think we're kind of stuck with it.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean we're not going to try to do something. I'm still thinking, try to think, hey, what can we do? Maybe we can split it up. It's just perhaps in the entryway there where there's a foyer, perhaps we can extend that out. We can put in a couple of doorways in there. So yeah, there's things we could do.
Is there some level of capital that you feel would be required to make that happen, to get it up to a market rate, or what's your thought there?
Yes, there would be. If you're talking about doing something in terms of trying to demise the space, yeah, there would be a capital infusion that would be needed, and depending on what we would do there, we could come up with some scenarios for sure.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
Commissioners, any other comments? Commissioner Maya?
Yes, thank you. I'm glad to see that these rates are commensurate with the market and the condition that some of the buildings are in, and so it seems like it's a very thoughtful consideration of that in the schedule. I just was trying to process the information that we were given, as I said before, last minute from Mr. Alker about the land rental rates. And I know it's probably a little bit difficult because we don't, is it hard to nail down comparables? Is that why it just says NA and Goleta? Because it's hard.
What we have is the comparables because there's just
no other airports in Goleta.
There's no other raw land. It's very difficult to find raw land. I did find 2 comps down in Ventura, 25 cents a foot. That's literally the only comps that I could find in the area. The county just didn't have any. Really, it's just kind of a quirk of the.
Yeah, and it forgive me if it's in the full report. I didn't see it on the slides. Do we know how much vacant raw land we have right now that's unleased, unrented?
2 spaces, and we have approximately 2.5 million square feet of land under various types of leases.
Yeah.
So a lot going on there. And we have 2 yard spaces available right now, one 24,000 square foot space and one 11,000 square foot space. And I'm happy to report that just this week we leased both of them.
Okay.
So we went from 1.45% vacancy on our land to 0. And what's really exciting about this also is that on the 24,000 square foot space, we were able to command 30 cents a foot on a 4-year deal, which is about $88,000 a year in income. And on the 11,000 square foot, we got 33 cents on a 3-year deal, and that's another $45,000. So we've got just in those 2 deals, and then the 840 square foot office that we also rented this lease, that's over $100,000 per year in income. So that's the fun part right there.
Great. And just one follow-up question about the process, and maybe this is better directed to Mr. D'Amore, but as we approve these rates this evening, would the bottom and top numbers be the range that you're negotiating in, or would you be able to, it sounds like that maybe, with land, that would be in excess of the current rate, or at the current rate's 22 cents. So you were able to negotiate above and beyond the published rate, I guess is what I'm trying to say, or are those just guidelines? I'm trying to determine.
Our current asking rate is 33 cents.
Okay.
We believe that that's where the market is, and also I'm a big proponent of pushing rate. I want to test the market if ever I can, and so that's where we come at 33. We did get it once. We did get negotiated down to 30. That one came first. So the 30 cents was an all-time high. So I was really excited about that. And then when we negotiated the other lease, the party just didn't push rate, didn't push back. We got 33 cents. So I'm kind of excited about both of those. Now, the reason why we have the rate ranges is because, and this is not so prevalent for the land or for storage, but for office, retail, and industrial, the reason why we have the ranges is because in our portfolio we have different qualities of buildings within both of these scenarios. So I may have an office space that's really sharp and clean and nice and new and beautiful, and I may have something else that's 1940s era with some functional obsolescence and some odd quirks. Okay, well we need to price those differently if we're going to rent them. So that's the reason for the ranges, is we need the range because we're going to try to plug in specific properties where they should be in that range. But in both cases, we are still going to try to push rate as best we can for that particular product and its quality.
And if I could jump in just real quickly here, I would say by approving these rates, kind of giving us some boundaries to work within, but I don't think anybody who supports the airport would object to receiving more than what's on the high end. If we're able to get that and a tenant is willing to sign on to that lease, then that's a win for us, and we would do that. I would say that if we're moving forward with leases that are within this range or higher, that is probably just going to show up at a future airport commission meeting as a consent item. If there's some odd property that we've been having trouble renting for whatever reason, and we find somebody who's willing to move into that space, maybe make some improvements on their dime, and we're renting it out at a rate that's less than that, that might be an item that we take before the commission and have it as more of an administrative item, so you're aware of why that one is being moved forward at less than the approved range.
Thank you. Yeah, I was trying to ask that question. I don't think I was effectively asking it, but you answered it for me. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Dixon. I have to say you have a classic bell-shaped curve here. On one hand, you have 1942 U.S. Marine Corps Quonset huts, and you have some rehabilitated buildings. So I want you to forge ahead and continue to do what you're doing here. You're certainly well qualified with your years in commercial real estate, so thank you. I would like to also
Dennis?
open. Yes.
I have some questions for the man.
You do have another one.
Yes, sir. I was kind of being nice.
Commissioner-
Let all the other commissioners have a shot at it
Commissioner
first.
Bowen, you have the helm.
Thank you. And Mr. Dixon, thank you for a good presentation. It's good having you on the team and good seeing you here. I'm hoping that pretty soon we'll see a lot of leases to approve on our next consent calendar. It sounds like you've got several of those
At least
coming
3.
our ways. Well,
Hopefully 5.
many as you can get, we need them. I'm in a unique position because I've been CEO of multiple corporations that have rented space in Goleta. And the airport property land rates, I have found in a couple of instances, were what landlords in Goleta pointed to when quoting me land rates. You are the market for those. There is a few small spaces, but not much, and they look to see what we charge. So you're in a strong spot there. As far as Dennis Houghton's thing, I don't believe we have any Quonset huts left, but we have stuff worse than that. And we have brand new light industrial that's fantastic. So you have a very broad range of properties that are also in various areas of disrepair and prone to flooding. So giving these staff members as much flexibility as possible to deal with the fact that, you know, one end they're renting to somebody a brand new perfect light industrial, and on the other end something that's been flooded 20 times and was built in 1942. So we need to give them the flexibility to choose what they do. On your unrented total, does that include the Deckers building? The corporate headquarters, that dilapidated?
Yes, the ones that I took out for the purposes of the report, yes, I took out the 30,000 square foot Deckers office building and the 10,000 square foot mezzanine at 495 South Fairview.
As you should, because they're just not rentable at this time.
They're not leasable at this time, so.
Yeah. So just checking to make sure you weren't giving yourself a black eye when you shouldn't be on that.
No.
So what else do we got here? I think that's all I had for him. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner
Thank
Bowen. Any additional comments from the commissioners? Okay.
Next
So-
slide, Mo. Thank you, Commissioner.
I would
Depart differently.
Yes,
That's all I
we
can say.
and we do. I'd like to turn this over to the public and call up Mr. Ken Alker. You had a request to speak and a nice document you provide.
Good evening, Ken Alker. I apologize for producing this so late. I wish I had gotten it to you sooner, but I've been working on it diligently for the past 2 days. The one number that was on that slide that I do disagree with is the number for land, for the vacant land. And there was a range given of 20 to 35 cents as a proposal. And I would argue that the 20 cents is actually too high on the low end. And my reasons for that are fourfold, and that's what is documented in this letter. The first of which are using comparables. I called Camarillo and Oxnard, and they're at 12.5 cents. They don't have a range. It's just flat 12.5 cents. I called Lompoc, and they're at 9 cents. I called Santa Maria, and that gentleman just got back to me as I was driving here. Chris is his name, the director there. And he said that they base it on an appraised value plus an 8% return. And I said, can you give me an average of what people are paying for the vacant land? And he said it's about a nickel. And San Luis, I couldn't get to their director, but I did find something just before I drove here today that said that it is negotiated by the airport administrator. So we don't know what those numbers are. Unfortunately, I couldn't get examples from them. So looking at the comparables at the other airports, they're much lower. In fact, almost 50% of the bottom end. So that's number one. The second reason I think it's too high is if we look at the current rate proposals for office, retail, and industrial, and then we look at the comparables in Goleta and compare it to the proposed rates, you'll notice that they're all less, as Mr. Dixon pointed out, because of the Class C versus A or B, which makes perfect sense. And I think that's fantastic that that is being recognized at this point. But if you do look at the percentages of what is being proposed versus what Goleta comps are, you're anywhere from 66 to 90% of the value on office, retail, and industrial. But if you look at the land, you're at 91 to 160% on the low end again. So that 20 cents compared to the 22 for Santa Barbara is huge in comparison as far as the discount rate compared to the other ones. So that's reason number 2. Number 3, I'm doing a previous rate comparison here. I'm going back to 2015 because I was having a struggle finding anything newer than that on the website that has been published over the years. And so the rates that were listed for 2015 for office were $1.35, $95 for industrial, $65 for storage, and $13 for land. And if we compare that to the proposed rates for 2023, office is $1.40, which is about a 4% increase over 2015. Industrial is $1.20, 26% increase. Storage at 80 cents is a 23% increase. And land has a 53% increase, which is huge in comparison. So if you were to take the average of the first three, and there's a million ways you could probably do this, and apply that to the 13 cents, you get something closer to about 15.3 for the bottom end. Finally, I looked at CPI. I started with the 2017 numbers, and the rate at that point was 13 cents. And again, this was the very latest I could find on the website. If we look at CPI from then till now, the most recently published in 2022, 5 years later, since we're only halfway through the year, we have a rate increase of 19%. If we apply that to the 13, we're up at 15.5 cents again on the bottom end. So I'm not saying the whole range is wrong or that we even need to touch the upper end of the range, but I do think the lower end of the range, and since it's negotiated anyway, it's okay to change it. But I do think it should be, all these points show that lower number is too high. I think the 20 cents should be pushed down somewhere. I'm suggesting a number between 12.5 cents and 15.5, simply because 12.5 is is kind of the bottom end of the comparables if you throw away Lompoc at 9 cents and Santa Maria at 5 cents. So maybe that should even be lower, but Santa Barbara, of course, you get a premium, and the 15.5 comes from the CPI on the high end. And it also happens to be very close to the number I got in number 3 using the rate comparisons. So the 4 different ways I did my appraisals or my comparisons put us between 12.5 and 15.5 cents on the bottom end rather than the 20. So I would like to suggest, if you're voting on this tonight, that maybe you wait and let staff look at it again and consider adjusting that particular number. The other numbers look really good to me. The presentation was fantastic, but I do disagree with that one number, and I think it should be adjusted. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Elker. Okay, any additional comments?
I have to disagree with Mr. Bowen here, is the fact that we have you want me up there?
Yes, please.
Okay. I'm Sean Sullivan with Above All Aviation, and I have to disagree with the fact that there aren't any Quonset huts left on Santa Barbara, because Above All just spent $20,000 redoing a Quonset hut that we have to shortly move out of. So there are still out there, and they still need improvement. So just so you all are aware.
The Quonset huts are disguised because they have facades that hide the circular rear of the building. So, okay, any other additional comments from the public? Carl,
I just have a
please,
quick
please
question.
take the podium.
I believe you said that you have just completed leasing all of our land, so you're now at 0% available. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So the land that's on the north side of Hollister, where the old car dealership used to be, which was at one time going to become a new dealership, which fell apart, that has also just been leased?
No, sir, it's RPZ zone.
So
It can't be leased.
we,
It's in the runway protection
Right.
zone.
I thought there about 3 years ago, we had a lease that fell through where where there was going to be a car dealership with a building over next to the road and cars parked in that other area.
I can't speak to that, sir, before my time. Perhaps someone else can?
I can vouch for Carl Hopkins. This was something before the Airport Commission, and the runway protection zone does exist, as you're saying, but the proposal that I remember seeing coming to the Airport Commission meetings did have a car dealership with the buildings of the dealership shifted to the east to stay out of the runway protection zone, and the inventory lot in the runway protection zone. So at one point in time, the airport was actively trying to get that property developed. So you might want to check into that. There may be some more opportunities for you.
That's
I
true.
think the buildings were on the west side, if I remember correctly. But I do remember we actually had leased the land for $1,000 a month until it could be approved by the Planning Commission, et cetera. And it got hung up there, and it was after about a year the car dealership gave up. So I do believe that is possible to park cars there.
Thank you, Mr. Hopkins.
Yeah, thank you. That's an excellent suggestion. And I myself, as I roam around some of our properties, I also see opportunities for perhaps leasing some small parcels. So when I say we're 100%, we're 100% with the parcels that we commonly lease. That's a great suggestion, and I agree with you. Looking for more opportunities to take some vacant land that's just sitting there and turn it in income producing. Thank you.
Okay, any additional comments from the public? Okay, we're going to move on. So, commissioners, and one last time here.
Would it be appropriate for me to make a comment?
Yes, it is. It is.
I would just like to say I don't know if we can do it as a motion or just as a suggestion by the commission, but I tend to agree with Mr. Alker's analysis of this, and I think the land at the airport is unique in the same way that the buildings are unique, and there's a range of usability of land, as we've just heard through these comments this evening, and I'd like to see more flexibility for the staff to be able to negotiate for different uses. So my suggestion would be that that the land, instead of being set at a fixed 20 cents per square foot, be a range, and that range be somewhere in the 12 to 15 cents up to the 33 cents that we're actually getting, so it reflects what we're doing and gives staff more flexibility to negotiate with tenants to keep it at 0% on leased land.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Maya. Maybe you need some direction from our airport director on this, how to proceed?
It's to the commission to make a motion, and if you want to recommend a wider range for that particular category, that would give staff more flexibility as opposed to less, so no objection here.
I'll phrase that as a motion and say I make the motion that we direct staff to publish a range for the fiscal year 23 for commercial land leases that extends from 12 cents to 33 cents.
Any seconds?
I'll second that.
Okay, then we'll take a vote of the entire commission. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
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 And then the rest of the rates
We have
would
to
need
vote on the whole
to be
package.
voted.
Okay, so I'd like a motion for the remaining rates as outlined in the presentation.
So
Looking
moved.
for a motion.
So moved.
I'll second that too.
Okay. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. It's unanimous. Oh. All right. I'm going to turn it back over to Mr. Demore for the last subject of the airport tenant signage project.
Yes, and I'll quickly be handing it over to Mr. Cleansing, who is a supervising engineer out here at the airport. He works under Sarah Isa. I don't know if he's presented to you all before, so another newbie, but he will do a fantastic job. And this is on the, as you mentioned, the airport tenant signage program. He's been working closely with our consultant, Hunt Design. Wanted to make sure I didn't get that mixed up with the other Hunt, which is Mead and Hunt, who's working on something different. But if you want to go ahead and kick this off, that would be great. Thanks, Brad.
Yep, thank you, Mr. Moore. My name is Brad Cleansing. I am the supervising engineer at the airport, and I am in charge of developing a tenant signage program. Next slide, please. So as you make your way around the airport campus, we have a variety of signs, some different ages, materials, font styles. Just kind of a hodgepodge that doesn't give anyone a real idea that they're on airport campus. So with that, our goal is to create a signage program and provides guidelines for tenants so that when they do want to upgrade their signs, or we have a new tenant that's going to occupy a space, they have some direction on what they can do for signage. Right now, if a tenant wants to upgrade their signs, they still go through the downtown process where they go before the sign committee. And those are very general sign guidelines that don't pertain to the airport campus. Next slide, please. So this map is showing 5 general regions of the airfield, or of the airport property. And we worked with Hunt Design to do an initial assessment and take some photos and kind of group into 2 different regions. And the north region is everything north of Hollister. And then we have the south region, which captures everything north of our airfield, but still south of Hollister, as well as the terminal area. I did want to mention that Hunt Design is very familiar with the city process for sign committee. They were the ones that spearheaded the city wayfinding signage.
Oh.
So they have that, you notice those signs that have the Malaga green background and lettering. So they spearheaded that for downtown. Next slide, please. So focusing on the area south of Hollister Avenue, this is the style of signs that staff is recommending to the commission. You'll notice that it has some of the same stone configuration that the airline terminal has, so we're trying to tie that into this area south of Hollister. We also have that Santa Barbara tile feel on the top as well. And then this is showing a mix of also some of the monument signs that will be freestanding, as well as the signs that will be on the building itself. Next slide, please. And then for the area north of Hollister, we are building off of the 6100 Hollister development. You'll notice there's a couple signs there now that kind of have that different style stone base to it. So we wanted to build off that, but we're still tying into the south section with the color scheme and the font style. So we still have that blue and white that's going to try to create that cohesiveness with the southern properties. Next slide, please. So before we came to the commission with our recommendation, these are all the alternatives that were considered. And so the top row is what we considered the A style, and it's got, it shows the South Hollister and North Hollister styles. And then the middle row was another alternative. And then the bottom row is what was more of our industrial look that we felt was just a bit too industrial, although it is the cheapest option. We didn't feel like it built on anything that we had going already. So staff is coming before you with a kind of a mixture between the A and B options. Next slide, please. So the next steps, if we don't have any objections from the commission, is that we would go before the city sign committee with this these initial styles. And with their approval, we would go dive deeper into the guidelines, providing more construction details, laying out some more of the materials and what kind of foundation we may need, and we'll start talking about some lighting as well. And then once the overall signage program is approved, our plan is to roll out the signage updates gradually. If there's new tenants, they will be required to adhere to the signage program. But as far as existing signs, staff is going to budget those accordingly, and we're going to roll that out in phases. I mentioned that the industrial signs were the cheaper ones, but not by much. Those were still coming in a cost estimate of about $19,000. So the relative increase in the options that we're recommending at 25,000 is still kind of general ballpark. I believe that concludes my presentation. I'll open up for any questions.
Thank you very much. Commissioners, questions? Any need for clarifications? Commissioner Maya?
Sure, just a couple questions for you. Excellent presentation. I think the signs look really slick, and it's something that's much needed with driving continuity across our properties. I guess probably the brand consultants for our tenants would want to know if individual company logos can be displayed on the signs, or if they'll be all a uniform font.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that kind of ties into the city guidelines as well, as the certain logos are not allowed, and so when we go before the city sign committee, we'll be bringing that subject up.
Okay. So currently the city doesn't allow anything but a uniform font and city leased properties.
Sarah, do you have more knowledge on that?
I'm sorry, I don't know. I'll need to look it up and get back to you on that.
Okay, yeah. And I guess what would the cost be for an individual tenant who was putting their sign on one of the monuments?
Yeah, so if it's a monument sign that has multiple tenants on it, then the tenant would just be responsible for their initial name tag. They wouldn't be responsible for the entire signpost.
Mm-hmm.
If it's going to be a completely new sign, then that would be an item that could be negotiated within our lease as to who is responsible for that.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Goodman?
Yeah, how many of the south signs, the square ones without the arch, how many of those already exist?
I don't have that exact number offhand, so I will have to research that.
I mean, quite a few, or two?
It's definitely more to, I'd say, what's in the tens range.
Oh, really? Because it's a shame those don't really follow the look of the other ones. In the red, they would be a nice way to keep the two separate but together in their look. But I guess if you've already got 10, that's a lot of tens of thousands of dollars. So anyway, I love the look of them. They're beautiful. And I thought maybe it'd be possible to have the white ones and the red ones to differentiate rather than just the square red ones. So I guess we're too far down that road already.
No.
Well,
No,
I mean,
we
there's too
came-
many of the existing ones that you want to match.
I guess I'm not quite following that question.
The ones that you said already exist with the gray bases
Oh, okay. I
that you
misunderstood.
need to keep
So yeah,
the
gray,
new ones.
gray bases that are related to the 61 Hollister.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, those are. I believe we only have 2 of those right now.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I misunderstood.
No, I probably wasn't clear. I guess I would love the idea, rather than those square ones, if you don't have very many of them, to go with the red arches. That was just to keep that look with the airport and more consistent. Just a suggestion. Thanks.
Commissioner Boland, do you have a question or clarification?
First off, anything you can do to help our tenants out so that they can survive and thrive and pay our rents, it's much encouraged. The signage, if I understand correctly, you're saying that the tenants at the airport would not have to go before the city of Santa Barbara's review if we pursue this?
They will still have to go before the typical sign permit process. It's just that this guidelines kind of paves the way for them.
So we're hoping that it would go smoothly and quickly.
Correct.
But we're not able to cut them out of that. I don't know how many people here in this room have gone through it. It's really, really, really hard and difficult. Okay, that was my main concern. The other thing is a little bit of sticker shock at $25K for a sign. I'm not doubting you on your estimates. I'm just kind of going, that's a lot. All right, thank you very much, and welcome aboard.
Thank you.
And that was for the monument, that is for the base and the structure, and then the individual signs would be, that cost would be borne by the tenants. But yeah, knowing what foundations cost nowadays, I can see how it can add up. So, Any additional comments or need for clarification from the commissioners? All right. Any comments from the public? Come on up, Shauna.
Sean Sullivan again. I can speak to this sign thing because I went through the process of the city signage. It cost me over $6,000 for the 2 signs I have. In doing my research, I found that a lot of people hadn't gone through the process. So I would hope that you would consider the people who've actually gone through the process, kind of help them along, because it was an ordeal and a half to get those signs up. And when we move, I won't be able to take my current sign that's already been approved by the city. It was approved by the City Architecture Board. So I feel like I should be able to take that or have some consideration going forward.
Thank you. And any additional comments from the public? All right, we do not have a motion or a vote for this item. So that concludes our meeting. Thank you very much for everyone's participation. Fabulous presentations by staff. Thank you. We know I don't want to say the hours, but the weeks that go into these presentations despite all your other responsibilities. So thank you very, very much. And so the meeting is over, Mo, at 7:30 p.m.